talk about Jujutsu Kaisen's binding vow problem.
Sometimes you gotta close the door to open a window.
Says pretty much late to this, but the barrier Choso put up, what is with that? A simple answer would be binding vow, but it'd be awesome if that was the ultimate technique of blood manipulation. Now I'd be willing to bet my fucking bottom dollar that Choso's barrier here was some sort of binding vow on his life in exchange for Yuji's, because the way you have to look at this scale and destruction of Sukuna's attack, not only did it completely incinerate an entire surrounding fucking area here, it was also matting the particles in the exact same kind of explosive energy that the arrow was made out of anyway. It's an incredibly explosive attack. But then again, to attain this kind of fire arrow, Sukuna imposed a binding vow upon himself, and that was outside of his domain. Fairness can't be used on multiple targets. So I would be willing to bet my bottom dollar that that was some sort of binding vow. The fact that it only, so far as we're aware, the fact that it only took out Choso, pretty damn impressive to be honest with you, but I'm not entirely convinced on that one, because even Todo himself doesn't seem too convinced that everyone is fine. He says they're probably all right, you know. That's kind of what you say when you fuck something up and like your parents ask you and you're like, probably fine, you know, like you kind of just winging it. But for Sukuna to get this kind of domain that trapped all of life forms here, he had to use a domain that acted upon the actual world itself, which was how he was able to trap Maki within it. So Sukuna's usage of binding vows here, it's been very hotly debated and talked about within the community, and honestly, I'm not entirely sure where I stand on the whole debate as a whole. The terms arsehole and binding vow merchant are being tossed around like fucking lube and an orgy right here, and I can't help but wonder, is JJK kind of writing himself into a corner, or is he doing this all for a reason? The positive side of me wants to say, yeah, he's all doing this for a reason. It's all part of his grand master plan. He's just got us all in the palm of his hand right now, and we're all just slaves to the story right now. But you see, as it stands right now, Sukuna is the only character that we've seen in the series using binding vows to this kind of extent, and successfully, and it leaves me wondering, has Sukuna started to like slowly strip away his own deck of cards, or is he really just that fucking smart? Because I'd like to think, personally, he is just that smart. I mean, that's the man that killed Gojo, and since then has bodied anything that's walked his way. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the fight between Gojo and Sukuna started from like chapter 3. The moment those two met, that's when that fight started. Sukuna started the plans in motion while Gojo had other things going on in his life. Sukuna just sat there and just plotted like Dr. Doom here. So my theory here is Sukuna is doing all of this on purpose. I think he's aware that he's being whittled down, but Sukuna, being Sukuna, he's going to go out swinging. In chapter 248, he said this to Yuji: I've decided to take your ideals and mince them to bits. First, I'll start by killing you all. Then after that, the remaining Cullen game players, and then I'll complete the merger and have some fun with the new Tengen. Now, so far, Sukuna has accomplished at least 3, debatably, out of the 4 with this statement here. He may well have just killed everyone with that fire arrow on his most recent domain, because that has, like, those 2 attacks combined may have just killed everyone that was on that field, as well as the remaining Cullen game players, for all we know. And after all of this, he's got Yuji's mental state starting to waver. He's got it a little bit in shambles right now, and the final nail in the coffin right now for Yuji could very well be Sukuna looking at him square in the eyes and just hitting him with the merger. You know, he could hit Yuji with the exact same thing that Megami hit Haruta with, like, oh, you think I'm losing? Nah, fam. We losing. And he just pops the fucking merger. Now, anyway, I think Sukuna's binding vows throughout the series have been numerous and a little bit more than problematic, not only for the cast, but potentially also for the story. But again, I kind of want to wait to see what's going on here. What do you guys think? Do you think this whole binding vow situation has gotten out of hand for you, or is it par for the course with Sukuna? Because me personally, I genuinely don't know where I stand. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I kind of want to see the situation play out, because as I always say, I think with situations like this, it's better to sort of look back in hindsight. When the arc is completed, when the story is completed, we can look back and be like, okay, yeah, JJK definitely writ himself into a corner with these binding vows. But, you know, I'd like to believe that JJK has sort of planned this out. He's used this for a reason, because he's hit us with these binding vow things before. I mean, chapter 213, the Enchained binding vow, chapter 212, 213, 214, they were all phenomenal examples of JJK very smartly using binding vows to really fuck up the story in a way that we just weren't expecting. And I mean, like Kaio mentioned in his video as well, I'd like to see more of the cast using it. Maybe even Yuji pulling a gun type of scenario in exchange for never using Jujutsu again. Give him the power to beat Sukuna. It may be a little bit on the news for Jujutsu Kaisen and the Hunter x Hunter parallels here, but JJK is just like me, for real. He is a Hunter x Hunter fan, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he is. And by the way, speaking of completely unrelated, but speaking of Hunter x Hunter, did you guys see that Togashi is drawing again, by the way? Very exciting times. That man has been cooking recently, by the way. He has, like, literally just not left his desk. It's very exciting times. I will be covering that on this channel, by the way, when that comes back. Mahito, as an antagonist, now feels weak and worthless because of Todo returning. Agile Transfiguration destroyed his hands, so Boogie Woogie technically should not work, but we can't just ignore that. They probably used Yuki's knowledge on the soul. I just don't see Mahito the same anymore, as they might as well bring back Nobara, which also makes Shibuya feel less consequential. Bonus question, remember that What If Yuta video when it's part 2? First off, maybe one day on the part 2. We'll get around to that, maybe one day. Secondly, I do kind of see where you're coming from, but honestly, I do wholeheartedly disagree. I think Mahito as a character served as the springboard for Yuji's biggest development. Even if Todo has fully recovered Boogie Woogie, or he somehow manages to undo the damage done to Nobara, or the killing of Nanami, like those things, they can't be undone. Like those things, the damage done to Nobara and the killing of Nanami, they can't be undone regardless. Mahito for me is and will always be the first villain to really push Yuji and everyone past their boundaries as far as I'm concerned. I think everything that happened within this story is still a phenomenal springboard for Mahito, and I don't think Todo returning makes him any sort of inconsequential at all. I think what we will more than likely see is Todo being nerfed in some way, shape, or form. There's got to be some sort of drawbacks to his technique for Shurskis. What do you think the odds are that Todo finally meets his end in this battle, and Yuji is all alone this time? No one can bring him up, only himself. Now, I can't lie to you, and now I've had time to settle after Choso's death. By the way, check out this video if you haven't already. Also subscribe and turn on notifications, because, you know, why the fuck not? You're already here. Also, yeah, after last week's chapter, I am really not confident in the survival odds of Todo. Now that the last week has passed and I've had time to settle down from the death of Choso, I was kind of wavering on if I was okay with Todo returning. I've sort of made peace with it now, but now I'm kind of at the point of I really just don't think he's gonna survive. And while I am happy he's back, we will get to see him and Yuji open the can of whoop ass on Sukuna. Unless Todo was packing a huge buff to his technique, he's the weak link in this fight right now. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say I love Todo, but right now we've got a Sukuna. I don't need to say much more than that, Sukuna, and then we've got a freshly awakened Yuji, who may very well be leading up to a domain expansion here for all we see. You know what I mean? Like, this dude he's soaring right now. He's climbing the heights, and unless Todo has something massive in that bag of tricks of his, maybe a Todo domain expansion or something, I don't know, I'm not confident in his odds of surviving, especially considering that this next fight will most likely be all hands being thrown, so the likelihood for Sukuna hitting black flashes, it's gonna raise exponentially, and I'm just gonna keep it a stack. I think 2 arms is more than enough for it to deal with Todo and Yuji. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see here. We'll just have to wait and see. It's a scary time for Todo fans. The boy just come back, and JJK might as well just rip him from our arms before even the hug settles in, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, that is it from me. Massive shout out to the members. Also, small announcement. I recently stopped leaks content on the channel. However, since then, you guys have been on my ass to bring them back. I mean, there's been DMs, there's been comments out the wazoo, comments on videos that aren't even related to Jujutsu Kaisen, asking where leaks are or talking about the chapter. So yes, I'm gonna cave. I'm gonna give the good people what they want. Leaks content will be back on this channel, live streams too. So yes, big announcement. Anyway, that's everything from me. As always, I will catch you guys all in the next one. Much fucking love, big fucking kisses. Peace.
You're the sunshine on my